When I talk with people about my journey into social work and my journey to becoming an educator in general, I often talk about how crucial the courses I took as an undergraduate student were to my development. The classes, the subjects we talked about helped move me from being a quiet student who would often sit silently in the back corner in class to becoming an active and vocal participant whose voice became increasingly more sure and confident with each passing day. I talk about that a lot in my journey. Social justice education really had a way of connecting me with experiences that I was intimately aware of because I knew what was happening. I experienced them, but it gave me a language, a way to begin to talk about and describe what I was feeling in a way that was empowering. Because now that I know there can put a name to this stuff, I can also begin to fight against it. And also helped me to learn ways to support other groups of people who were oppressed in ways that I was not. Ultimately, my experiences in that program really helped to move me from this place of anger to action. One of those classes was Social Work 318, Foundations for Multicultural Social Work Practice. Because we talked about a variety of different topics relevant to social justice, this class became my absolute favorite. One day we're sitting in class and our professor led us in a visioning activity where we wrote about things we were passionate about, work that we want to be doing in the short term, as well as 10 years into the future on a piece of paper. It was a silent activity that we completed individually for a few minutes. And then later on, we had the opportunity to share what we wrote down to the larger group. And at that point in time, I really begun to enjoy the conversations I was having and learning subject matter. I was coming into a lot of new information and I wanted to find a way to keep that going. So, one of the ways I imagined being able to do that was to become a professor. I wanted to teach that class. So, although I wasn't sure about a path to get there at that point, I wrote it down as one of the long term things I'd like to do at some point in time. So, just dreaming, just wrote it down on a piece of paper during the activity. And I got to tell you, it felt good to put it down on paper and even to talk about it. But when class ended, I crumpled up my paper. I don't know why. Class was over. I just crumpled up the paper and tossed it in the trash, but I could still remember what happened next. So my classmate, she went behind me, picked up my paper, opened it up, and put it back in my hand. She was so angry with me. I remember she told me that these were our hopes and dreams. She said, "Hey, these are our hopes and dreams." And she couldn't just let me throw away my paper like that. So in a very friendly but serious way, she even warned me not to do something like that again. I remember I was a little embarrassed, but even though I was a little embarrassed, I appreciated the message she shared. I remember at the time, I thought I was just throwing away a piece of paper, but I realized it was more than an activity. It was an opportunity for us to purposefully reflect and set goals for ourselves. Yeah, in retrospect, I can definitely say that I had my doubts. So when I remember that moment now, I'm really glad that she stepped in to interrupt it. And years later, I would return to the university to teach my favorite class and even be honored by my students for my teaching style. So just saying all that to say your dreams matter. So whatever it is that you want to do, even if you don't have it all figured out yet, write it down and don't crumple the paper, okay? Whether that crumpling it shows up in the physical form of doing that or whether it means forgetting your ideas, hopes and dreams. Your goals, your dreams matter. Whatever it is that you want to do, even if you don't have it all figured out just yet, just write it down and don't crumple the paper. Write it down and don't crumple the paper, whether that be a physical balling up of that paper or whether that be a philosophical, a mental balling up of the paper. You know, if you have something that you want to do and accomplish, write those things down. And in your mind or wherever you can, save them where you can and don't give up on them, even if that takes time. At the time of this recording, I've had over a decade of teaching under me now. I've been doing this for a while. When it comes to my own teaching philosophy, critical self and systems reflection is a really important part. It's a central piece of my own teaching philosophy. So today I'm going to share a little bit of background into what my teaching philosophy is and how that's meaningful for me and what that means for me, no matter what I'm working on or what space I'm in. When I think of my life experiences, my experiences in education, and how my experiences have shaped my teaching philosophy, when I think over my life, I say that I am who I am because of others. As a product of Detroit Public Schools and a first generation Black college graduate, I know firsthand the power of having equity minded people in my life who through a combination of deep lived experience, deep knowledge of systems, direct access and influences in different areas of the educational system. Through a combination of those things, they were able to expand my range of what I thought was possible for myself, particularly in the face of so much historical and systemic racial and economic inequity. I am who I am because of them, and I see education as a tool for liberation. When I recall my own origin story of how I came into social work, I often tell people that I found my voice in higher education, specifically in my social work classrooms, my sociology classrooms, those classrooms where we're talking about social justice issues. And one of the reasons that statement is true for me is because social justice education helped me to understand how systems work. I had professors who used policy, history, theory, statistics, current events, and more in ways that helped me to understand how the inequities I experienced were not merely personal to me, but they're connected to larger patterns, right? So it's not just something I was experiencing personally, but it was connected to larger patterns of things. Social justice education also provided me with practical skills to address them too. So it was a transformational experience that I incorporate into my work as a practitioner and as an educator. To me, education must be for the people. Research must be informed by the people, and any community engagement and knowledge production must be done in collaboration with the people for the benefit of elevating their stories, centering their concerns, and improving their lives in some way. My approach to teaching acknowledges our implication in the web of power, privilege, and oppression. I teach with the understanding that we've all been socialized within our various social identities, and we've all received and bought into hegemonic messages that assert the superiority of some groups, the inferiority of others, and that the ways that we think about ourselves and how we think about other folks can influence how we act, right? And this has really important implications for our work moving forward, considering the positions of influence and authority that graduates will find themselves in, or even practitioners when I have workshops and things. If we don't actively commit to an ongoing practice of critical reflection of ourselves and the broader systems we interact with, our actions can replicate oppressive outcomes rather than being agents of positive social change that we would be prepared to be when we're trying to get our education, right? We can be more harmful than helpful if we're not committing to continuous self and systems reflection. And so I frame classroom time as an opportunity for each of us to engage in that practice. I tell students to never let their education get in the way of their learning and to have the humility to accept feedback and change directions if necessary. It's going to be really important when you get out in the field. I am not a neutral educator and continue to be inspired by the works of critical theorists, critical teachers, critical writers, critical activists, critical people, because we have to remain critical of ourselves, of systems that we participate in, systems that we interact with, systems that we engage in order to push things forward, in order to move closer to equity. So, in addition to fostering an environment where students can be critical of themselves, my teaching also involves creating space for students to examine the social institutions and power structures in critical ways as well. I believe that anger can play an important role in social justice work. I believe that. In my own journey, which started at the pursuit of racial justice, I still remember and am moved by James Baldwin's words, which said, to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all of the time. A rage that is present not only because of what happens to Black people in America, but also because of what Baldwin described as the criminal indifference and ignorance of most white people in this country. Baldwin continued by saying that the work ahead required controlling the rage so that it won't destroy you. And a large portion of my journey has involved finding ways to control my rage so that it doesn't destroy me, and teaching and learning, using the skills of intergroup dialogue, social justice education, storytelling as liberation. Those things have been helpful toward that end and have enabled me to really expand my scope as it relates to my teaching philosophy, how I carry that understanding into my teaching and facilitation. When I think about the marginalized aspects of my students or participants' identities, I try to facilitate a process that provides them opportunities to identify their own ways. Like, how are you going to do this? What can we do through our engagement together, how can we support you in channeling the legitimate rage that you have for the marginalization that you experience, for the injustice that you experience? How can you identify your own ways of controlling your rage so that it doesn't consume you? In what ways, how are we through the activities, the readings, the materials, how can you control the legitimate rage you have in ways that it doesn't destroy you? And when it comes to our privilege identities, when it comes to the privilege that we experience, learning the ways that the world is designed in ways that support us and ways they don't support other people, how can we become more aware of the ways that we are ignorant and criminally indifferent to the plight of other people? So it's a multifaceted approach and understanding that I carry into my teaching style, facilitation style. My courses, my workshops, they address social justice education throughout our time together. Lectures, dialogues, readings, could be experiential exercises that demonstrate the social construction of various social identities and systems and how inequitable power dynamics can be maintained or disrupted, which is important, how they can be maintained or disrupted through thought processes, policies, and practices. Through these activities, I seek to move beyond merely recognizing the social construction of institutions to then make connections regarding how those institutions can impact people's lives in ways that privilege or oppress them. I use my own lived experiences and encourage students to examine their own lived experiences personally and professionally and draw connections between social work, public health, other fields with the recognition that disparities are created and maintained through power, privilege, and oppression, and that they're not a natural occurrence, but they're created by structures. And since they are created, they can be undone. So anything that we talk about, theories, social conditions that we cover during our time together, and through their assignments, readings, class discussions, students, participants have opportunities to engage with how oppression manifests at the micro, meso, and macro level, which supports their ability to examine and challenge oppressive systems critically. If we're thinking about it at multiple levels, it improves our ability to be able to engage at multiple levels too. Really want to support their ability and increase all of our abilities and capacities to challenge oppressive systems in critical ways. But ultimately, my goal as an educator is to facilitate a process that enables learners to better understand the ways in which they are situated in society and to discover their own answers to questions about how they can best contribute to advancing equity and social justice. My work in social justice origin stories is an extension of that as well through storytelling, hearing the stories of another, coming to some better understanding of ourselves in terms of, hey, what's the best way that I can contribute? What are my gifts? What's the best way I can serve? So that's a little bit of a background into my teaching philosophy that I'm glad to have had the opportunity to share with you. It's definitely a multifaceted thing, and I'll talk more about this as we continue to have conversation with one another, but it's multifaceted, for those aspects of our experience where we are harmed, where we are oppressed, where we are discriminated against in various ways, using education as a way to support students, support participants, support people who I'm interacting with and engaging with how can you, how can I, how can we channel that legitimate raise that we have in ways that it does not destroy us. And then for those aspects of our identities where we hold privilege, where we are protected, where we are uplifted at the expense of other people, how can we expand our capacity, increase our capacity, our abilities to be able to more deeply understand the ways that we are ignorant or criminally indifferent to the plight of other people? And so my teaching philosophy, my approach to facilitation is multifaceted in that way. It's recognizing that we experience harm and we also have the capacity to harm others. It's recognizing that how we frame stories changes how we then organize our time and resources to addressing different challenges and social problems. And it's also recognizing that the inequities that exist today were created and not in ways that are natural. And so, since that is true, we can create something new, something more equitable, something more just. And so, those are a few of the things that really underlie my teaching, my facilitation philosophy, and really inform a lot of the work that I do. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and subscribe to Social Justice Origin Stories wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch video episodes on YouTube at Social Justice Origin Stories, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. Video episodes are also available on the project website, socialjusticeoriginstories.com. I also want this community that we're building here to be interactive, not just a one-way conversation between myself, the storytellers, and you, but then also I'd really love to hear about how folks are interacting with the stories, what you're learning, what they're bringing up for you. So leave a comment on YouTube or any of my other social media channels. Leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. You can send an email to stories@socialjusticeoriginstories.com. You can share a voice note at socialjusticeoriginstories.com/contact or at speakpipe.com/socialjusticeoriginstories. So your feedback really helps to shape the community, and it may be featured in future episodes. I'm really wanting this to be conversational. So look out for more entries from me on that, responding to some of the comments you've already made, some of the reviews you've left, some of the feedback you've given. To support the work of Social Justice Origin Stories, consider becoming a monthly patron. Your contributions will help keep this resource going and support its mission. Visit patreon.com/Social Justice Origin Stories to learn more and to make a contribution. Again, that's patreon.com/Social Justice Origin Stories. You can start or stop anytime. Social Justice Origin Stories is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Relando Thompkins-Jones. Many thanks to many storytellers who have contributed to this project. And thank you for joining me this week. Take care.